Okay, the purpose of this video is to motivate you to cook and to learn how to cook and make a case for learning to cook at home. Now, time is very scarce on YouTube. You can switch off at any time. So if any time you find any of these points boring, you just jump off right away. But first, let's start. Why? Why do you want to learn how to cook? Why does anyone want to learn how to cook? I think there's some very obvious reasons. Number one, it's cheaper. Cooking at home will save you thousands and thousands of dollars a year. Even your little takeout Chipotle burrito, it's costing you money. It's costing you 10, 15 bucks every time you can go out. Typically speaking, restaurant meals are 5 times more than the cost of making the same meal at home if you average it over a serving size of 4. So that means that if you make 4 burritos at home, okay, and they cost you $2 each, they cost you $8. If you were to get 4 burritos on the road, they would cost you $40. So do the math, that kind of works out, right? 8 times 4, 40. So it's cheaper. Second thing, and more importantly, people nowadays feel endearment towards people who cook for them. What that means is that it's a dying art, actually making somebody dinner, making somebody lunch, making somebody breakfast, and learning how to do it is a relationship skill. Whether that's trying to get a date, whether that's trying to make your mother feel good for Mother's Day, whether that's cooking for your spouse when they're angry at you, it is an incredible tool to have for relationships. And honestly, it does not hit like taking somebody out for dinner. Okay? Even if in a work setting, if you're you meet somebody in a professional setting and you're like, hey, come over, we'll grill up some food. If you want, being able to cook for them, being able to show that you're preparing food for them, that you care about them enough to actually go and make them dinner as opposed to throw down your Amex is very meaningful. It is a tool for relationship building. So it's cheaper and it's a tool for relationship building. Another why is it's just honestly an activity that there's a really steep learning curve for. Cooking, especially if you've never cooked before, going from 0 to a 4 out of 10 is some of the most, it's probably my most enjoyable time that I was cooking when I started 20, 25 years ago. Learning to hold a knife, learning how to chop, learning how the first time you ever really make something like a burger at home and it tastes better than the last burger you ate out, right? It's a lot akin to like surfing, how in the early days of surfing, if you get up on a wave and ride the face of a wave, you'll probably never have another experience in surfing as good as that one moment, right? People are always chasing a bigger wave, a bigger wave, a bigger wave. But that moment that you ride the face of a wave, as opposed to kind of just riding the whitewash afterwards, that is what I'm talking about when I talk about learning curve. And so when you talk about something that is an activity that you can learn over time, the incredible thing about cooking is it's infinite. I have been studying food and cooking for 20, 25 years, and even recently I've gotten into Filipino food and their use of blood in sauces and their use of sour cucumbers and all these crazy ingredients I never knew about. And every single day I get a little dopamine hit from learning something new, applying it. There's a technique there that I can use to apply in my own cooking. So understand that it's a lifelong activity that's healthy and beneficial for you. So it's cheaper, you've got, it makes a huge impact on relationships, and it's something to do that's good, clean, fun. I want to move on to what does it even mean to cook, right? You have to think about this, what does it mean to cook? What cooking really is assembling a dish. We got a baby down here, one sec. Cooking is assembling a dish such that it provides enjoyment or health. That's it. It is assembling a dish such that it provides enjoyment or health. And health can be a couple ways. It can basically just mean I'm going to put raw kale on a plate and I'm going to cook a chicken breast and I'm going to serve it with brown rice and I eat that, and it's pretty straightforward but very healthy, and it provides me fuel to move on with my day. Enjoyment can be, okay, big greasy burger covered in cheese, yada, yada, yada. But all cooking comes down to those two factors. It's either for enjoyment or it's for health. And oftentimes they can be combined. Health and enjoyment go hand in hand as well. But that's the point of cooking, okay? We are providing fuel, or we're providing some form of enjoyment. And if you do both of them at the same time, then you're way ahead of the game. But people forget about this. They think cooking is this chore. They think it's like scrubbing the bottom of your bathtub. Like, they find it annoying because they don't understand that there is a very clear benefit to cooking, right? And 3 of the most clear benefits are, as we talked about, cheaper, relationship building, and it is an activity that gets your brain off whatever garbage everyone has to deal with all throughout the day. Okay, now I want to talk about where cooking, because this is a big one. Where should you cook, right? Where you cook matters a lot. People think that you have to cook in your kitchen, right? Everyone thinks like cooking happens in the kitchen. You know, a lot of people, I actually personally kind of don't really enjoy cooking in a kitchen. My favorite place to cook is at a campfire. It's putting a grill over a campfire, and it's sitting there next to a fire with like a drink or a beer or whatever, and cooking stuff, poking stuff. You know, what happens if I put this onion on the grill, put it in an olive oil, turn it in the fire, get it charred up, right? Cooking a steak over a live fire. It's sitting around a campfire and cooking. It's being outside, right? Cooking doesn't have to happen in a kitchen. It can happen outside, it can happen at your grill, it can happen while you're watching a game. You don't have to be locked into a kitchen environment where all you're doing is staring at your crappy stove that annoys you because maybe you didn't make enough money in your job and you have a shitty stove that you're looking at every day and it frustrates you because you have this tiny cramped kitchen. I don't know. But you can cook where you want to cook. One of my favorite things to do if it's a nice day outside is go to a backyard, grab a big bowl and start prepping a salad, right? Just a cutting board, a knife, and a bowl, and you can make 90% of salads outside in the sun listening to music. So think about where you cook, right? That is a huge motivator. You do not have to be trapped inside a kitchen. Cook on open fire with your friends, cook outside. As long as you don't even need like live heat, you can basically cook anywhere. You can go down to the beach and you can prep a little ham, wrap it around some melon. You can go and make a quick cheese board. You can assemble sandwiches if you have all the ingredients. Like, cooking can happen many other places outside of a kitchen. I want to talk about how people get, this is probably the most important part of breaking all this down, and I want to keep this short, and I don't want to waste any of your time, so I'm just going to drive right into like the true meaning of like how people need to be cooking or thinking about cooking. Can be a huge subject. But in general, I think the best way to get involved with cooking is not to start with recipes. I think recipes make cooking actually boring. I think it's too structured. I think it's a lot like learning to play a musical instrument by just memorizing sheet music, as opposed to understanding chord structure. If you understand flavor pairings, why flavors work together, what makes dishes delicious, it's texture, you know, it's salt, sugar, sweet, umami, bitter. Understanding why flavors work together, right? Looking and going, you know, what spices, understanding why does a carrot taste good with sumac or cumin or coriander? There's really simple books that you can read that will help you understand this. One of them being the Flavor Bible. It's a fantastic book about flavor combinations. And you can just do a Google search. Teach me or show me cookbooks that I could use to learn to cook without recipes. Learning to cook without recipes makes food and cooking so much more enjoyable, for the sole reason that when you escape the trappings of a recipe, you can now use things you have on hand. And using things that you have on hand is inspiring. It empties the inventory in your pantry and in your cupboards, which makes you save money, which makes you feel good. You don't have to run to the store, which is super annoying. It's probably one of the most annoying parts of cooking, is actually having to go into a grocery store and buy certain ingredients. And it becomes a bit more of an art, a bit more of a performance. It becomes there's a little bit of stakes involved, where you just kind of are going like, maybe this will work, maybe it won't, right? And this comes to my second part of the how of cooking, which is like you just have to be afraid to screw up and fail. I'll be serious, like 99% of dishes can be saved by just pouring a bunch of sriracha on them and eating them. The only time a dish becomes actually truly inedible is when you burn it, like totally burn the living garbage out of it. Other than that, when you're just talking about weird flavor combinations, you can't really screw up a dish too much, and you can always save it by covering it in sriracha or ketchup. Okay, so just do not be afraid to fail when it comes to cooking. It's a huge part of learning to cook without recipes. People rely on recipes because they're scared to make mistakes. Shout out garbage truck down there. People rely on recipes because they're scared to make mistakes. But if you break free of recipes and you welcome mistakes as sort of a learning curve, you'll have way more fun because there's true creativity involved in it. Think of it as like your own little Iron Chef. Remember the show Iron Chef? Every time you get in the kitchen, how do I Iron Chef, right? Take a couple books like I mentioned, Flavor Bible, whatever. This is New York moment, baby. Okay, finally, I want to wrap this up because there's like a true New York traffic jam happening below me. And I just wanted to make this off the cuff and from the gut. Listen, cooking has given me in the last 20 years so much pleasure. Cooking for other people has given me so much pleasure. And I think that that is the most important point in cooking, is you have to understand that cooking for yourself is lame a lot of the times, right? A lot of the times, the only time cooking for yourself really is a good thing is like we mentioned before, because you're just saving money. When cooking gets fun and gets truly fulfilling, it's when you cook for an audience. So seek out an audience to cook for. Thank you very much. Bye.